Let's get going, shall we?
We are so incredibly excited to welcome Chessie King to Mother Tongue. Chessie, how are you?
Just realised I look completely naked on Zoom. I just whipped off my trousers because I was like, Marianne, I'm too hot. It's a good time to escape and do a podcast because we are not used to 31 degrees in England. So I'm a sweaty mama. That's what I am.
Especially in September. Like, that's wild. Wild. What's going on with the world?
Rude. I was like, honestly, last week I was getting all my autumn colour scheme out. I was like, Matt, this is it. Cozy season is upon us. And he was like, not today. So they've gone back in the wardrobe. And I don't know. I'm just like, I'm not the sort of person to ever check the weather forecast. So for me, it's even more of a surprise. I'm like, oh, you all knew about this. Oh, I wasn't prepared.
Damn it, I wore a jumper today, bugger. That would be me. Don't worry. But for those people out there who don't know you, which I'm sure there's not many, please tell our lovely listeners a little bit about yourself.
I am a mum of one. She is called Aurelia and she is 2. And it's actually it's a wild week for both of us and my husband Matt, although actually I don't think it's as crazy for him. We are going through a huge shift. She's just started school, so I'm in limbo. I feel like I'm on call, on standby, and my job is just to just to settle her in while settling myself in. I have been a presenter since I was about 16, and I founded a company called Babyhood, which helps and supports new parents online through the first 40 days and beyond. I decided to launch it, or came up with the idea when Ray was 3 days old, just because I was like, everybody needs help. Surely, I'm not the only one feeling like this is impossible. And then I work on social media with lovely brands and kind of try and help people through that. And I started Instagram when everyone was like, what? Why are you posting on that? We're all on MySpace. What are you doing? So yes, and it's lovely. I definitely feel like of who are you changes after. I just realised I literally said I'm a mum before anything else, and that to me is important, but also that just shows how much of an identity shift we go through, because before having a mum I'd never be well, obviously I wouldn't introduce myself as a mum because I don't, but I just literally set myself up for, instead of saying what I do for work, that is my primary role, being a mama.
I know. I mean, we love it most of the time. I feel like at the moment it's 80-20. Maybe that's a slight lie. Maybe it's more 70-30. But you touched on back to school there, which, God, I feel like all we've been talking about is back to school and the emotions that come with back to school, not only for the kids, but also for the parents. And I mean, starting for the very first time, it's big. I mean, how did she take it? And how did you take it?
Just didn't realise I'd be so emotional. I thought because you want to get your freedom back, and all you want is your days just to do stuff that you can't do with them in the house. And actually I found it really, really tough. But today was actually, day 3 was the hardest, because she actually realised, oh, this is what I do now. Mummy leaves me and then I have to go into the forest. And it's just a huge transition. And I think for any mum, I was saying to my mum, it must have been really bizarre after years and years of school runs, that first year when your children aren't actually at school. It's not just the people who are starting school, it's the people who are it's the mothers and the parents who aren't at home when they're supposed to be taking their kids to school. I feel like September is definitely a new year for every single parent, because it's a new year to start things. It's a new year to it's such a huge change.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And You're so right saying that, the parents who then don't do the school runs anymore. I was actually talking to a friend yesterday about how I don't think I've been able to go to the loo by myself I don't know how long. It's been a long time. And she was like, just wait until that day when they don't come in the loo with you, because it will happen. I mean, I don't know at what age, but it will happen. And then she was like, you'll be wanting them to come and talk to you while you have a pee. I'm like, will I?
Oh, waiting for that day. No, she sits on my lap. So, like, literally 2 a.m. last night, I had her in bed with me because she didn't sleep, and I was like, the only way I can go to the toilet without thinking of her rolling out of bed is if she comes and sits on my lap on the toilet, and she always does. But I was like, what does my life become? Like, I'm literally, it's 2 a.m. I have a 2-year-old on my lap, and I'm just weeing, and she's like, "Ah, mummy wee wee." I'm like, yes.
Here I am
in my raw, vulnerable state.
And I mean, Chessie, you've become somewhat of a social media sensation, really championing motherhood, body confidence. I mean, everything really. I follow you and have done for years and years, and love the content that you produce. And I love coming on this journey with you. And I always feel like you fill me with so much confidence and positivity. How did you get on this road? I mean, social media hasn't always been a thing. What made you decide I'm gonna give this a go, and this is the kind of direction I'm gonna go in?
So kind of you. I feel like my sister, because she's a Gen Z, and I'm a dinosaur compared to her. She was like, you should really start sharing your presenting on Instagram. And I was like, no, like nobody needs to see that. And she was like, maybe just start. And it was still photos at the time. There was no video. And so, yeah, I just started doing that. And like you said, I don't just post one thing, which sometimes that means like my brain is like, well, what are you going to post? Because you post everything. So I feel like there's obviously a natural change in my content going through pregnancy, going through motherhood. And those people that have been on like the entire journey and been with me since the start I just feel like they're all my mates. Like I chat to them a lot, and there's such a nice community, I feel. And I also find like loads of people warned me, like, careful of the mum police, they're going to get you, like, watch out. And I don't know whether it's because I don't show Aurelia's face or because I don't really share too much of her. I speak about my own experience, but not like, I actually, quite such a positive thing for me. I actually feel like I haven't been exposed to so much, like the hate that I was expecting and the trolls from being a mother, because like everyone talks about it and they're like, oh God, like mum police are out, like they're out in full force. Whereas I feel very lucky that I haven't, and I don't know whether that's down to those two things.
Oh wow. Do you know what? I think we're still so small on social media that we haven't really ever experienced any trolling, but we have talked about it on the podcast quite a bit. I mean, have you ever had any twats say horrible things to you about anything on social media?
My goodness, like, yeah, constantly.
No.
And I still do. Oh, absolutely. I did like loads of cyberbullying campaigns with Cyber Smart, which is a charity for them. And oh yeah, absolutely. I've got every single comment under the sun but before I was a mum. And maybe I just don't look for it now. Maybe I don't look in the comments or whatever. But yeah, no, I have experienced a lot of hate, but it's just not been like Aurelia. And one reason why we decided as parents to not show her face is because of how much hate I received, and a lot of my friends on social media with platforms received, because I was like, I can take it, whereas I can't. If anyone's saying about her, like, we protect them in every single other way in life, in the real world, so why would I expose her face without her permission, without her consent? And knowing how vicious people can be out there, why would I ever put her through that? And I love that when we meet people, no one ever goes, oh, like no one recognizes her because they don't know her. they always go, oh, that's what she looks like. Oh my God, amazing. Like it's so lovely because
You know what? It's something that I think about all the time, if I'm being honest, because you're so right. They haven't given us permission to post their face all over social media. And also, you never know what weirdos are out there. And I've known of people who have had their kids' images taken from their social media pages, and weirdos have created their own social media pages pretending that this person's kids are their kids. And I mean, it fills me with fear. I mean, sometimes I forget how many weirdos there are out there when we're in our nice little mum bubble, because that's the thing. I do think, by and large, from what I've experienced so far, the mum community is so lovely and so accepting and helpful and, you know, open for sharing knowledge and everything. And I just, you know, sometimes I wish people could be a bit nicer, because we don't need all this hatred in the world, do we? Anyway, moving back to the beginning of your motherhood journey, you suffered with, and I'm going to say this wrong because it's a long word and I'm not very good at saying long words, hyperemesis? Yes? Well, I've lost you for a second there, Chessie. You just went, oh, are you back? Are you back? Are you back?
It's gravidarum.
I'm sorry? Oh, wow. Can you tell us a little bit about this? What is this? And I mean, so few people experience this in pregnancy. It sounds quite horrific.
It was, so basically, I didn't have a clue what it was. I genuinely never heard of it before I was pregnant, and I was about 8 weeks, and I'd been sick about 25 times that day, and Matt was like, I think we should call someone now, and I was like, oh, no, I think I'll be fine. I've probably just eaten something funny and thought it was food poisoning. And then the next day I was sick again, and he was like, I really think we should speak to someone. So I said, oh, we called 111, and anyway, they were like, it sounds like you've got HG, hyperemesis gravidarum. I was like, sounds like a spell. And a spell of being sick every 5 seconds. And they were like, you need to come in, because I hadn't drunk any water. And I came into the hospital, and I did a wee sample, and Marianne, it looked like ginger beer. It looked like mushroom soup. It was like brown, and it like I pooed in the wee sample and then shook it up. It was disgusting. Like I basically hadn't kept a sip down for like 2 days. So I was extremely dehydrated. They like hooked me up to about like 2 bags of a pillow of a juice just to get me going. And they basically said, you've got hyperemesis. It's definitely not food poisoning. And it carried on. So from 8 weeks to hours after I'd given birth to Ray. And it was disgusting. I was in and out of hospital so much. Like, it was just wild. Like, I cracked a rib from being sick so much. Well, they thought I cracked a rib, and then they realized that I'd actually torn an intercostal muscle from the retching, the constant retching. So it wasn't the most wonderful time of the year. And that's honestly a huge reason as to why I'm waiting. If I can have a second, that's why I'm waiting to even try, because it's so common to have it again.
What? No, that's just not fair.
And I'm like, really? I'm like, the longer I wait, surely the more my body forgets what it's done previously. So it goes, oh, I don't remember being sick so much. Let's not do it again.
I honestly, I really don't know how you got through that. Hats off to you. Congrats, because that would have, I think it might have killed me. I had bad morning sickness with my second for, I'm going to say probably 5 weeks. And by the end of it, I was like, I'm miserable. This is horrid. And I mean, I wasn't sick even nearly 25 times a day. I might have been sick like on a bad day 5 times, if that. For any mums who are going through this, do you have any tips or tricks for them? Anything that helped you a little bit kind of get through those, what could have been probably quite dark weeks?
Actually found it I think Matt found it harder than I did to see me be so sick. I don't know, maybe that's really kind to him, but yeah, I would say the best thing is just going to get the help that you need, because I waited for like, I think it was like 3 days of being constantly sick, like growing human. And I was like, oh, I just don't want to go into A&E. I don't want to take anyone's bed. And like, you really do need that help. Like, your body needs that help. And I also would say, like, looking back on it now, I do not regret any days that I spent in bed, because that's exactly what I had to do at that point. And like, at the time, like, you think, well, it was COVID, so I was like, there's nothing else to do. But at the time, especially now, you'd be like, oh, I just want to be out and I want to be with my friends and all this. But actually, like, you are doing the most important job, and you're doing the best thing for your body right then and there. And I don't look back and think, oh, I wish I'd got up that day, or I wish I'd actually been able to leave the house that day, because it's the worst thing. Like, I was sick in every location possible, and it was just horrendous. And also, from about 12 weeks, I'm sure it's different in Dubai, but from about 12 weeks, you can take medication, and some of them you don't have to swallow, so they just melt on your tongue, because obviously you can't be swallowing stuff, it just comes straight back up. So I would definitely just get the help, get the support. And I didn't realize at the time that there were loads of support groups that there are. So like, search for those, and you can find mums that have been there. And depending on what country you're in, you can get on the phone, and there's like a helpline, which I didn't make use of because I didn't even know they existed.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to do some searching on this and link it in the show notes. And I mean, was there any foods that particularly helped? Ginger beer, I mean, you said it already, so saying it again, toast.
I wish that the ginger thing worked. Everyone's like, have you tried ginger? I was like, oh, ginger just comes right back up. No, I found, as soon as I woke up, I found like just a plain cracker would really help if it didn't come up. There are a few foods now, I'm sure you're the same, even from morning sickness, that there are a few foods that I have completely written off, and it's such a shame. It's like, I loved black cod, and now I can't eat black cod because on my birthday, I was 36 weeks pregnant, and I sat there in the restaurant, this lovely restaurant, and I looked at Matt, and I was like, had tears in my eyes, and he just went, right, toilet, and I was like, yeah. And honestly, it was just horrendous, and they had to close the entire toilet, and it had a sign on it and everything. I was like, I promise you that wasn't from my asshole. I promise you.
Oh my god.
Oh, it was like slip and slide. You know that feeling in your mouth when you go all like dribbly and watery before you're about to be sick? Yeah. Talk about it, it's gross.
Oh wow, sick life is not the life no.
Right.
And
let's skip ahead, because we don't like people hearing about sick is the worst thing.
And I mean, after the pregnancy was over, the birth bit, how was your birth? How was your fourth trimester? How did you find that kind of first few months of motherhood?
Cesarean was chosen for me at 20 weeks, and I walked into my appointment with my heart specialist, and they were basically, there were 6 of them. It was like having an audition, and they were all there on a panel, and walked in, and they went, so just explain your dream birth to us. And I was like, I want to be floating in a pool. I don't want any wires on me. I want music, and I want Matt to be with me. And they literally laughed, and they went, oh, what a shame. Well, we've got you down as a cesarean. And I was like, sorry? And it was literally the first time I'd ever heard that I was having a cesarean. And they basically just took my birth and just slashed it. So it took me only about a day to get over it. Still getting over it. But at that night, I wrote my dream birth down, and I wrote it a letter, and I was like, dear dream birth, like this time is not our time. I have to choose the safest option for my daughter and I, for our daughter and I. And basically just signed it off, and I was like, hopefully I'll see you soon. Hopefully I'll meet you soon one day if I have another one.
So can I ask, why was it that they told you that you had to have a C-section? Was there any particular reason? Was it due to the sickness?
Nothing to do with sickness. It was the fact that I have a heart condition that, like, they basically said it's it's dangerous for you to push. And I was like, I promise you I'll be fine. But like, as you know, we've never done it before. Like, first time, you're like, okay, fine, you're the specialist, you're the expert, I will take everything you say. And even though I've lived in my body my entire life and I know it a lot better than you do, this is your thing and I respect that. So that's kind of where I was. Whereas now I'm like, if I was in that situation again, I'd be like, I'm gonna try. And if I need a cesarean, fine, but let me try, let me push.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's very different for different people. And even my friends that have had vaginal, a lot of mothers then choose to have cesarean because it's the other way around. So I so I had the cesarean. Matt had to leave after 2.5 hours after her being born because it was COVID, and I was like, oh no, I don't even know my own name yet. Like, I literally hadn't even come round. I was like covered in sick. I was like, please, everyone told me it would finish. But anyway, it was just a wild night of like looking down and being like, oh my God, this is mine. Like, I've wanted to be a mum my entire life. Like, anytime anyone would ask me at school, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It was always a mum. And now I'm like, wow, that, like, I didn't know what I was letting myself in for. I didn't know what I was wishing for. Like, it is the most phenomenal. It's just crazy, isn't it? It's just a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot. And I think, so I had a cesarean, C-section first time round with my son. And I remember it was after a very, very long labor. And I remember looking down at him for the first time and being a bit like, what? Who are you? And what's going on? And just feeling so like, I am not ready for this. I can't do this. And then when my daughter came along, it was so different having kind of a slightly smoother entry into the world, and kind of being aware of what was happening. But I think when you're a first-time mum and you produce this child and you're like, it still blows my mind today that you can walk into a hospital with no child and they let you walk out a day later, or 2 or 3 maybe, with a baby that you have to you have to look after, keep alive. And I'm like, how is this allowed? I can barely keep myself alive. And then, you're thrown all these other hurdles like breastfeeding. You must breastfeed, breast is best, all this kind of stuff. And, it's hard. Sleepless nights, even worse, trying to keep your marriage, your relationship afloat. I mean, it's just minefield after minefield. How did you find that first kind of like 4th trimester? How was Matt? Was he kind of like your wingman? Did he get stuck in, or was he a bit like, fuck this, I'm not changing that?
Yeah, no, bless him. I think he was very, very like, he was my crutch, like, as in physically, because of, as you know, cesarean recovery. He had to like lower me to the toilet and he had to like help me up and all these things. But with Ray, he was like, what do I do? What do I do? Why is it screaming at me? Like, surely there's like some help out there. Like, I kept on saying to him, I wish I hadn't have had a baby shower, and I wish I just had like here's my baby shower. And everyone came like on day 4 or 5, and I wish that everyone just came to see this new baby and helped, instead of like when I was pregnant, when I didn't really need the help. And I was like, now I'm literally next time, or if I do have a next time, or whenever my best friends are pregnant, I'm like, we'll do a baby shower and we'll do a day 4 shower or a day 5 shower if you want it, like a bath. We will bath you in love. But yeah, I think Matt was just, he still talks about it very openly, so he's happy, but he's still traumatized. Like, he genuinely, she's a screamer. Like, she still squeals, like screeches, to the point where my friends are like, oh, she's such an angel. And then at night they hear her and they're like, how are you dealing with that? Like, how have you dealt with that for 2 years? So yeah, he found it very hard. I really, really enjoyed the it took to get to know her. And I did take it as slow as I was told to. I'm not one of those like, oh, I rushed back into it and I shouldn't have, because I was like, I'm not going to get this time with her and blah, blah, blah. And I think my cesarean recovery has, kind of like forced me to stay in bed and have that time with her. But I kind of wish that, looking back, I kind of wish that Matt had enjoyed it more, so therefore I could have enjoyed it more. And that's not like a massive burden on him. That's me just genuinely like, maybe we should have gone to NCT because he didn't know anything. And I, like, actually, when she was here, I was like, what did we put her in? Like, what clothes did we put her in? And I remember the first night, and I was like, we were doing these poppers, and she was just like origami. It was like, it was awful. And I was like, maybe she should just be naked because it's July and it's hot. And there's just so much that that's genuinely why I made Babyhood, because I was like, I want all the experts in brain, body, feeding and sleep. I want them all to be accessible to every single person, to feel like they're in the room with you, because they helped me so much during my my first 40 days.
So tell us more about this. Tell us more about Babyhood. How like, where can we find it? What is it? Do we read it? Do we listen to it? Tell me everything.
I've tried to make it as accessible as possible, so it's all captioned, and it is a video a day per expert from brain, body, sleep, feeding, our 4 like foundation pillars, and you will literally be guided from the moment you get home to like day 40, and you will like have everything you need to know about all of them. And I just like, the 4 women between us, we have 10 children, and I was like, they are very expensive as a one-to-one, and some of them were £250 for an hour, and I thought every single mum needs these 4 women, so like affordably, accessibly, everything. So yeah, I actually am going to create a code for 40% off for mother tongue listeners, so I can send that over to you if anyone's pregnant and or anyone in those first 40 days. But yeah, it's just, for me, it's the most rewarding thing I've ever created, because I get to speak to mums that are in like the depths of newbornness, and they're like, thank you for letting me watch this. And yeah, it was lovely to create, and more courses are coming in IVF, surrogacy, adoption, multiples, and then toddler years. Like, why is my baby 2 and still doesn't sleep? Like, what's going on? All my friends' babies are sleeping. But yeah, so we are, what I say we, it's just me. I'm trying to do more courses.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Because do you know what? I actually saw something on Instagram today about people's villages, and how that, you know, that there just aren't the villages that we used to have anymore. It's just not a thing. What we need to be told as parents is you need to save to pay for your village, because that's how you're going to get it. And it's wild, but it's so true. That's just the reality of modern life and being a modern mum, I guess, which is slightly terrifying. So all these guides will be a phenomenal resource. And actually, speaking of sleep, do you get sleep now? How is toddler life? How is mum life now to a 2-year-old?
Glorious moments. I mean, yeah, there are obviously times, like all of us, I keep on trying to remind myself, like, I have still sleepless nights myself without Ray waking up, like all adults do. Like, you are never going to sleep every single night for the rest of your life smoothly. So I think when she does have that night, like last night, where she was literally up from the moment we got into bed at 9 until 2:30, and I was like, what's going on there? We've got some work to do there. But yeah, I kept on thinking, like, she's not programmed to do this every time. She's just started school. Like, there's a lot of change going on. So I always try and give her the benefit of the doubt. But at the time, I'm like, I just can't do this. I literally said to Matt, I was like, why is this still happening? And yeah, and like you said earlier, with with relationships with your partner, whoever you live with and whoever you parent with, I find that to keep that relationship going in a way that you can both tap in, tap out. Like, Matt and I are very good at, and we pride ourselves on being very like emotionally responsive to the other. Like, if he's at 30% and I'm at 7%, I'm like, right, I'll tap in, I'll take over. And we're very good at recognizing when the other person needs saving. Like, I know that Matt doesn't love bath time, so I'll try and make sure I do bath time, but he knows that I'm not very good at going back to sleep in the middle of the night if I'm in bed with her, so then he'll do that. And we try to get to know each other's parenting like ways and what we are actually really good at and what we enjoy. And I find on a Sunday night, this is kind of not saved our relationship, but definitely made it feel like it's a priority. Sunday nights, we always try and like check in with each other about like what's ahead and like the week that we've got, like who's kind of dropping off, picking up, who's having her. And when Matt's away a lot for work, I try and use the time when he's here to like get stuff done so that I can be fully with her when he's away. But I'm not gonna lie, like I've really found the last 2 months maybe the hardest of parenting. Like I'm only just coming out of that phase of like feeling really heavy with emotion, and like I've noticed myself even, so this is so weird and I didn't realize until I put it on my story and spoke to a few people about it, but I've become obsessed with picking my arms, like squeezing spots that don't exist. And I've never done that before. I didn't even know, like I've never even looked at my arms. Like I just know that they're there. And so about a month ago, I was like really, really squeezing them. And like, even in conversations with someone, like I'd be like wanting to see what was on my arm. And like driving, I was like, why am I've got this like urge. Anyway, I put it on my story and everyone's like, that's anxiety and stress. But because you're trying to almost like take your mind off of what it's thinking by doing that. And I just said to Matt, I was like, oh my God, this is mad. Like it's all manifesting, like it's built up so much. And I had one like therapeutic assessment with a therapist and I don't even know what her title is, but she was amazing. But it's so weird because I haven't actually booked more therapy sessions in because I'm like, oh, I feel fine now. Whereas I think every mother needs it weekly because it's not a crisis like SOS. It's more of a like, let's check in. And it's like, it's just a workout for your brain. So yeah, I definitely found about 2 weeks ago on a Saturday, I fully broke down. Like I've not cried that hard in so long. And it all just came out. It was like an emotional extravaganza. And I just felt so lonely and so like empty. Like it was so strange. Like it was all sparked from Aurelia just like not sleeping, me being on my own because Matt was out, and I just came into this room and I just text my Golden Girls group, which a lot of them do have children, but some of them don't, and they're all my best friends. And I just said, who is emotionally available right now? And because at this age, I feel like I never want to speak. My friends are going through a lot themselves. And sometimes they're not in a place where they can take on my shit. And I just think, I want to kind of check in who's readily available. And one of my friends who doesn't have children literally called straight away and was like, I could feel this coming. Like you are just so numb to everything going on with your move. With Ray was in hospital for like 6 weeks and there was just a lot. And I'm so glad that I actually just reached out and just said it. It took me a long time to do it. And it took me like the crying and the like that hysterical moment to say it. But I would honestly just say, like, as much as you check in with your friends and think about your friends, like they are also thinking about you. So just say, like, the simplest thing is just messaging and going, and especially when you see someone that you haven't seen in ages and you really like them and they're like, how are you? You don't have to say you're okay, because you're really like, hate it when people are like, yeah, good, thanks, how are you? I'm not that person at all. I'm like, I feel horrible, and can you just cuddle me? Or if I'm feeling amazing, I'll say. But I think it takes a really good friendship group to make you feel like supported enough. Let it all out.
Yeah, and you're so right about therapy. And I think, you know, we talk so often about this notion of self-care and putting yourself at the top of the pile and not just shoving yourself to the bottom, yet we still do it all the time. And I think therapy, even if you just go and talk about what you've done that week, it's so good to be able to have that space where the focus is on you, where you're actually for that, everyone, well, not everyone, but whoever is in the room with you, they're listening to you, what you have to say. You're the most important person in that room at that moment. I think having that hour a week where it's all about you, I think is so important. And I think we need to remove this kind of taboo around therapy, because I don't know why it's still there. I don't know why there's still this stigma of, if you're in therapy, there's something wrong with you. It's wild.
People, it depends who you surround yourself with, and like who has had a good experience with therapy, because in my life it's not a taboo at all. People talk about it so openly. Like, all my friends are like, oh, I had the best therapy session like this week, and I feel like I've learned this from it, and I can really see it helps them. But like you said, we do all of these sayings that we see on Instagram about being like having me time and all of this. Like, sometimes you can't have me time. Like, no. you go downstairs after putting your child to bed, and you go downstairs to the mess of the dinner, like dinner that you've just made. Then you've got all the washing to do. Then you've got that, and it's not just looking after Aurelia that I find hard. It's all of the other stuff that, for me, feels so impossible. Like, I'm like, those tasks used to be so easy for me, and now I'm finding them harder than I ever thought I would. Like, even just putting on a wash and then dropping some of the clean washing and thinking, I don't know what to do with that clean washing. It's like my brain has just become, I'm so like, I compartmentalize being a parent so much that all the other stuff is like, how do I do that? Like, that little sliver there is like so difficult to even wrap my head around. Even the simplest things.
Yeah, it is mine.
Getting there. We're fine.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I think you do turn a corner. Well, I'm actually feel like I'm turning a corner a little bit with our 3-year-old, who is becoming, I mean, it's really exciting, and it's so sad at the same moment, because he's like a proper child now. He's not really even a toddler. Like, I was looking at him sleeping the other night, which sounds really creepy, but I was like, you're so big. When did you get so big? Like, I can't hold him in my arms anymore. And I'm like, oh my God, it's just so depressing. But at the same time, it also is so lovely that, you can have a conversation with him. You can ask him how his day was, and he'll tell me. And, he has massive meltdowns, but by and large, he's a much simpler human to kind of navigate, unlike the human he was 18 months ago, when he just didn't talk to me and he just screamed at me all the time. So yeah. I feel like the corner is coming. But I wanted to
magic moments.
Yeah, magic moments. I wanted to move on to body confidence. So you talk a lot about body confidence on your social media platform, which I think is incredible, because I think, especially as mums, when you become a mum, I feel like you lose yourself as well as your confidence. And so many mums are ashamed of their postpartum bodies, when they really shouldn't. They should embrace them. I mean, and that's not to say that they're allowed to, we're allowed to mourn our past selves, the bodies that we once had. And we're also allowed to want to change our bodies to be something different in the future. But I love how you're trying to encourage everyone to really embrace where they are in the now, and the reasons why they're in the now place, whether they've just had a baby or whatever it is. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey and why you decided to kind of share your journey so openly with everyone on social media?
I feel like I was adding to the like sea of perfection back when everyone used to filter their photos and just post really stunning, well, like aesthetically pleasing photos. And then one Sunday lunch, I sent a group to the girls chat with my flight. We just all came back from Sunday roast, and I took my flies down, my tummy was hanging out, and I sent a photo to the group chat and was like, why am I sending it to them but not posting it on Instagram? Because my Instagram has always been like this massive girls group chat. Like, there's hardly any guys on there because I probably talk way too much about periods and stuff. But I was like, I just wanted to post it, and it was so scary because I'd never really seen anything on Instagram like that. I mean, it was like 2015. And I just carried on because I was like, well, it's clearly helping people, and people clearly are like relating to it, because like we're all a bit sick of seeing all of these. So yes, and since being a mother, like literally from the birth of her, I remember looking down and being like, I want to speak to my body the way I speak to yours, and you hear everything I say about my body. Like even when you were inside of me, like you heard everything I was saying about myself, and I never want you to hear me say a bad word about my body. And the way that I speak about her body is the way I speak about mine, because she's a girl and I'm growing a woman, and I want her to grow up, and when she's 30 like me, I want her to be, well, the entire time, like I want her to skip those 7 years or 7 to 9 years of like bullying my body and trying to change every single part of it. So yeah, there's so much to body confidence, and now that it is such a huge thing, there's body neutrality and body respect and body confidence. And I just think whatever you find, and it can shift and change, whatever you find works for you. Like there are some days where I am just like body neutral, where I just think, yeah, my body's really fun. There's some that I'm like, wow, like go on girl, you just lifted that. And I'm like, try and just be my own little cheerleader and mother myself as much as I mother Aurelia. And just like she teaches me a huge amount. Like she is honestly the most hilarious woman in my life. Like she makes me laugh more than anyone. Like this morning she was sat at Mac's computer and she's going type, and I said, so Aurelia, how do you feel about the gender inequality in the workplace? And she just went, broccoli. There it is. That's the answer everyone's been looking for.
Yeah, you're right. Nailed it. And I mean, Chessie, do you ever have days where you lack self-confidence? Do you ever have moments where you struggle?
My God, absolutely. Ask me that before having a baby, and I would have been like, no, actually, I really enjoy just a lot of day. I enjoy every day, but my goodness, I think with my confidence, it definitely syncs up around my cycle, and I know my cycle so well now, and I've never really, since I started periods, got to know when my period is. Like I've never been like a 28 days and it comes on the day. Like my cycles before Aurelia, they were 180 days, and then I didn't have a period for another 90, and then they were all over the place. And we conceived Aurelia on day 48. Because you hear this, like you can only get pregnant on days 11 to 16 or whatever it is. Day 48, and I was like, the doctor's like, yeah, you won't know when to try for years, and Matt wasn't. But it was wild. So now that I know my cycle, I can genuinely be like, I can tell on days from the days that I start ovulating. Yeah, probably about 16 to like 21. I am like a rocket. Like I will literally be like able to do any class, and then all around that, the either side of that, I'm like, oh God, I just really want to just eat loads of food and do everything that every other premenstrual human gets. So yeah, there are definitely days, but I'd really train myself like daily to just appreciate all of it, and not to be a dick to myself, because I was for so long.
Yeah, I know. We deserve more, don't we, really? We really do. Before we get on to the last bit of the podcast today, we always ask our guests to share one tip and one product recommendation. So what have you got for us today, Chessie?
Say that my tip is to, as much as you mother your child, and to give yourself that same level of like energy and time and love. And it can be in a smaller, chunkier size, because as we've spoken about, like the me time and all of that, it like when you're told to have me time, it's really hard to like take that. But to almost as
Sorry, Chessie, sorry, I'm going to cut in there. I just lost you for like 5 seconds where you said something about something your job. Sorry. I don't know what, I think when you lean back a bit, I like lose you.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. It's
No,
because
you're
of
fine.
Matt's AirPods. Okay,
Yeah.
well, do you know what? We'll start again and I'll just do it nice and quick.
Thank you. Yeah, so one tip, one product.
You give yourself the same time and energy and love that you give to your child to mother yourself, because who else is mothering you if you don't have parents nearby, you don't have them around? And that is like feeding them, feeding yourself. Like I put so much time into Aurelia's meals that when it's just me, I'm like, no, I need to make that same effort for myself. And like bathing myself, like all the basic things that actually you do so much for them, just to like make sure that you're getting that back from yourself, and also taking other people just mother yourself as you do your little ones. And then my product, now it's not a specific brand or anything, but my God, that I am like heroing the carrier for, like I have done the entire 2 years, because honestly, I looked at a video of me using the wrap sling for the first time today, and I didn't even know how to use it. And I was looking, and Ray was like 3 days old, and I was like trying to do her in this little kangaroo pouch. And then I'm taking Ray to school in that, well, not the same carrier, but in a carrier on my back. And I think it's probably one of my most used products. Like I think it is my most used product, because you're hands-free. I've never really been a pram girl. I just feel like too chunky, can't lift it upstairs, no one offers to help. And strapped to me, she's there. She's like an extension of me. And yeah, the carrier is my hero product. And I think you can do so much with it. And you underestimate like the power of it, because a pram, you can't be doing stuff with your phone. No. So the carrier, and back, front, sideways. I actually haven't used a side carrier. Have you?
No, never. And I've never used the back one either. And I've got to ask, what carrier do you use? Tell me about this carrier.
So there's one that I've used her entire life, and it's just a baby born. I don't even know what it is. It's one of their, I think it's called Air or something, but I've just used it the whole way through. And then the other one, Tulu, Tulu. I bought it when she was a toddler, because I was like, okay, she's getting quite heavy now. And that one you can't even feel. It's just like wearing a rucksack. And she still sleeps in it. It's the only time she'll only ever sleep 20 minutes in it, but she'll still fall asleep on it. Like it's almost like she knows. As soon as she's strapped to me, she's like, say, and she's like, oh, I can fall asleep on you. So yeah, the carrier is my girl. She knows what I need.
Oh, I love this. I'm going to link this. I'm going to Google it as well. And Chessie, what's next? I mean, obviously you've told us all about Babyhood and all the amazing things you've got coming, and I'm going to link the crap out of it in the show notes so everybody can find it and everybody can sign up, download it, get it in their lives. But what is next for you personally and business-wise? What's on the agenda?
Through the wall that I'm looking at, we're in the middle of renovation, and just making this house a home, and making I'm just gonna try and really make my life, now that Aurelia's back at school, I want to have a routine as much as she does, and I want to know, like, I want to be surrounded by women, and I want to work more with women, like face to face. And I feel like a lot of our jobs are solo, and a lot of them are, if you're not in an office space, you're kind of just doing it all by yourself. And I thrive off working with people. So I'm looking at how I can actually be surrounded and like energized by women in real life, and whether that be on like a team. And I basically am looking to work with a team instead of just myself for now, because I really crave it. Like I want to be in that atmosphere, like where women are like, I don't know, I just love it. I mean, and the odd man, but I just love women.
Oh, I'm so excited to see what you do next. Honestly, I'll be watching, stalking almost on social media. we'll all be there, I'm sure. And Chessie, everyone who wants to find you, say hi, reach out, where can they find you?
King with 1G. I used to be 2Gs, and then I don't know what happened. They just took off 1G, which was great. And then I'm such an awful millennial. Like, I don't really TikTok. I just like a dip in and out. And that's sort of, you can come find me in London. I'll see you for coffee. But no, honestly, Marianne, thank you so much for having me, because this has been like a long time of us emailing back and forth, or actually to me. I did not realise that my emails go into junk pretty quickly. So thank you, and I really appreciate everything that you've done. And like, it is phenomenal. Like, you help so many people, and more people than you probably realise.
Thank you, Chessie. Honestly, thank you. And we hope to see you in Dubai very soon. As always, everybody, please feel free to rate, review, subscribe. If you've liked this episode, feel free to leave us a little comment. And you can find us on Instagram at We Are Mother Tongue. Chessie, you've been incredible. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. My God, the week is running away with me. And we'll be in touch hopefully very soon.
Bye.
Take care. Thanks, Chessie. Bye.